Hello everyone, it's your host, your friend, your boy, Jet Black, the one and only, here with another exciting live stream. And in this video, I'm going to be going over D&D character and lore stuff related to what I'm currently calling the Shattered Morstel campaign. I don't know what Matt's calling his campaign for D&D, but I read a few sentences from the beginning of his world building document because I was like, what's the title of this? And I've just given it the name Shattered Morstel. I'm sure that Matt has his own name in mind that he's going to tell us at some point, but I guess we'll figure that out soon enough. So, yeah, right now I'm getting the live chat set up. Feel free if you have anything you'd like to talk about in the live chat to hit me up. I have 3 questions for everyone who tunes in. How's your day today? Do you have any discussion topics that you'd like to hear me talk about during this stream or another stream? And do you have any questions for your boy? This is a campaign that's run by Matt, aka Yotaro. So I did not create any of this lore that I'm about to share with you. I'm reading it from an email that he sent me. It's like a Google Docs message. I did, however, come up with the character that I play, Armakura, and I am going to go over my character and their role in the campaign and what I hope my character will accomplish as the story goes on and different things like that. Matt said, "How does it take 8 minutes to set up a stream?" Well, Matt, I'm glad you asked. So I had to tag the last video, and then I had to make sure that I had the live chat window open so I'd be able to do that. Have my character sheet open to the side. I have the emails open here. I originally had the emails on the second screen, but then I realized that they'd be too small, so I moved them over to my laptop screen. Um, I feel like for the most part, that's all I had to do. And keep in mind that the fan poll result stream didn't hit immediately, so then that stream ended up being multiple minutes long. So I mean, there are a lot of factors that went into that, Matt. You gotta pay attention to their elements, their levels to this. Without further ado, I'm about to jump in and start talking about the D&D world building doc that Matt sent me, and then go over my character and how it fits into this world. Okay, so reading directly from his doc. There was once a great empire that ruled over the world. This empire, the Morstel Empire, ruled with massive military might. However, the transgressions of mortals led the gods to punish them, striking the earth and causing rifts throughout the land. These rifts ultimately led to the establishment of continents as over time they drifted apart. However, even with this obstacle placed in front of the Morstel Empire, they still thrived. The empire went from being a connected kingdom to a series of holdings throughout the various continents. One of these continents was given the name Gronville. The continent of Gronville has 2 major kingdoms, the fertile grassland kingdom of Melodies, and the harsh mountainous kingdom of Grimeria. Initially, however, these kingdoms were once a part of the Morstel Empire. Eventually, a man rose up and through his soul-touching performance was able to form a following and broke away from the empire. This man was Relvo Trophiri. And through his rebellion, he seized the fertile lands to the west of the continent. Upon his death, the man who came to power gave the kingdom the name Melodies, in memory of Relvo's title as the King of Melodies. Meanwhile, those who were still loyal to the Morstel Empire stayed in the east, not out of choice, but because all attempts made to reseize the kingdom were repelled. Real quick, I had a comment in the live chat. Matt said, Grim Aria. So it's not Grimmaria, it's Grim Aria. Why is there nothing in its name that would suggest that you don't just string it together? Okay, so. Oh, there's like extra stuff? Is that an I or an L? Grim area? Grimmaria? So is it Grimmaria or Grim area? Because you put the hyphen in it. So I can't tell if I'm supposed to say grim area or Grimmaria. And then Matt said they are pronunciations. So do I say Grimmaria or Grim area as like almost 2 separate words? And then you said the first one, so Grim area. Okay, got you. Together. Cool. So let's see. Eventually, The Morstel Empire began suffering from internal strife and insurrections arose across all continents, including Gronville. The people who were once loyal to the Empire ousted them from the continent and formed their own kingdom, naming it Grammaria, after a flower that grew in the harsh lands of the kingdom. The Grammaria flower was named. There we go. In parts of your doc, by the way, it like has it like white around letters. It's kind of weird to say white around letters. It's easier to show it, I guess. But see how it says named, but it's like all fucked up? I don't know why it's like that, but that's for multiple words in this doc. So occasionally, if you guys see me like trip over words and shit, it's because they're just oddly formatted in the doc. I don't know what happened. Matt said, I have no idea why it's like that either. Okay. I don't know, email? Also, I wonder if I can make this more dramatic. There we go. So let's see. Ooh, I could do more than this. Okay, hold on. Matt said, really, Jet? Yes, Matt. Give me one moment. Matt said, do we really need this? Yes. It sets a tone. Ooh, that'll be too loud. Or will it? Matt said black and white don't exist in lore. So do you think black and white was the wrong way to go? Sepia is too bright, though. Is that really... Okay, that's Dawn. Dawn is interesting. I gotta unplug. He said just regular colors, darn it. Nah, man. I think black and white probably will do the best. Well, this isn't black and white. This is silver screen. Because it's fucking dope. And he said also the music is loud. How about this? Is this a good volume for the music? Sorry about blasting you with the music. Right now I'm just waiting for confirmation from your boy Matt. How's this for music volume? He says it's alright now. Still not needed though. Okay, ballin'. Okay, now I need to get back to where I was in the dramatic reading. The Melodies kingdom, through its easy access to fertile farmland, has expanded greatly. A hereditary king rules the kingdom, with the only changes in family coming from the transition from Relvo to a close friend of him by the name of Eror Tomaron, as Relvo had no children of his own. For the past few kings, the Melodies kingdom has empowered the nobility, leading to poor treatment of the lower classes such as farmers. The current king, Gregor Tomaron, wants to reform the kingdom, but must be cautious as significant reform could lead to uprisings by nobility. Matt said in the live chat, Arion. It's Arion. Who is... Oh, the guy with the ER name? His name was Arion? Oh, it's due to the whole messed up formatting bullshit of the document. It made the N look like an R. Ryan then said, I see Yotaro won the fan poll. How hard will he complain in the future? Rather hard, Ryan. Rather hard. I have 3 questions for you, Ryan. Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? And do you have any questions for your boy? Also, how's your day today? Matt said he will complain even harder. Given the expansive nature of the kingdom, several small towns have popped up, with larger cities acting as hubs for these towns. The capital of the kingdom is called Melodia. The Grammaria kingdom is mountainous and in spots cold. Given that the Morstel Empire once ruled over the lands of this kingdom, the cities are more fortress towns rather than cities. Given the jagged landscape, there are only a few other cities and towns beyond those that were established by the Morstel kingdom. Given the harsh nature of the area, the Grimmeria kingdom, kings are determined by strength and wit rather than hereditary claims. It's really hard to read when it does the weird white cutout in letters. Likewise, the kingdom's generals are selected by their prowess to command armies. These generals are the equivalent to the nobles of Melodis as far as their station in society. However, since they are generals, they must leave retainers to rule over their lands whenever they are out fighting. Although the Grymeria kingdom doesn't have fertile land, they do have wildlife that is hunted for food. So does Grymeria survive mainly off of like eating meat and like hunting animals, where the Melodis kingdom actually has like farm and harvesting and things of that nature? Ryan said, "Fine, I shared the philosophy of Antifa video on Facebook. He said it is worth watching, but is a long one." Matt with not Matt, Ryan with his politics. I just personally don't get into that kind of thing. But I'm glad that you're having a good day so far, Ryan. If you're free, maybe on Wednesday we could get together and hang out for a bit, since I only have one class on Wednesdays. Matt said yes, but farmers are poor. Thus, nobility is more pressing in Melodis. Okay, good to know. After the Grymeria kingdom was established, attacks on the Melodis kingdom ended, as the Grymeria kingdom had to keep order within its lands. However, in the previous year, the Grymeria kingdom began storming past the Melodis kingdom's borders. Although the Melodis kingdom was able to repel the Morstel Empire invasions, the Grymeria kingdom attacks were more potent, digging deeper into the kingdom than any previous Morstel invasion. The Melodis kingdom prevented themselves from completely being overrun by taking advantage of the land to get the jump on the invading forces. Even though the kingdom is not lost, it is on the road to collapse if Grymeria's offensive continues. Blah. Okay, so what I got from that is the Morsel Empire was once like this big ass Pangea, and then Pangea broke apart and it became a whole bunch of individual continents. From these continents, two kingdoms were set up. So we got the Grymeria kingdom and we got the Melodis kingdom. The Melodis kingdom is really big on nobility and politics, and it has a farming lower class that are able to take advantage of the fertile grassland in order to provide everyone with the delicious foodstuffs. But then you got the Grymeria kingdom, which has more of a focus on hunting in order to survive and like get food. Also, these two major kingdoms are specifically on one continent in particular, after looking at the notes again while reading. So, this one continent is known as Gronville, which I guess will be the main location for the campaign. So, the continent of Gronville is the one that has the two kingdoms, Melodis and Grymeria. Sorry, not Grymeria, Grymeria. So, Grymeria is a mountainous kingdom, and it's kind of more harsh and more brutal, where Melodis is like more casual, you can kind of chill out. But Grymeria is now acting as an offensive force trying to take over Melodis. So I imagine that's going to be a big conflict within the story of itself. Fuck. Now I'm just saying too many words. So the main conflict, from what I can understand, is that the continent of Gronville is controlled heavily by Melodis, but Grymeria is trying to take control of it from Melodis, and now like shit's getting real. I don't remember much about Grymeria anymore now. So, eventually the Morstel Empire began suffering from internal strife and insurrections, which rose across all the continents, including Gronville. Well, yeah, duh. So all the continents are having like an insurrection issue. So everything's kind of in chaos, and when it comes in terms of like politics around the world, it seems. Dragon Ball Superfan 1010 says, "Sup, bro? I'm watching from school. Yo, Dragon Ball Superfan 1010, I got 3 questions for you. How's your day today? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on stream? And do you have any questions for your boy?" Matt said, "You have the version 2 document." Yes, I do, Matt. I'm currently trying to wrap my head around the version 1 document to make sure that I understood it. Ryan said Pangea broke up into Laurasia and Gondwanaland. What the fuck? Gondwanaland. Gondwanaland. Okay, Gondwanaland. I think I got it in real life. Interesting. Then Matt said Morstel has been gone for several years. Well, Morstel was the original continent. That's why I named this. Because, actually, Matt, that's a good ass question. What do you call your campaign? Like, what's the title of it? Because for this video, I called it Shattered Morstel. Because I felt like it made sense. Because all the continents come from the Pangea of Morstel separating itself. Matt said several centuries even, the original empire. Well, of course it's been a long ass time. Pangeas don't just happen, you know what I mean? Uh, well, the breaking up of like massive supercontinents. Then Ryan said Pangea or Pangea. Well, hold on. I think the first one he said was closer to like Pangaea. Pangaea or Pangea? Which is the correct one? I feel like that's a trick question. I feel like Ryan knows the answer. But Matt, do you feel like I understand the gist enough of this first document to go on to the second document? Like, what are the important points that I should take away from it? Matt said yes. Okay, cool. And what are the points that I should have taken away from that first document? Like, what do you feel like is most important to know going into the campaign? Even though my character probably wouldn't know a lot of it. Especially like the deeper history stuff, like why areas are named certain ways. Then Matt said everything you have said is important. That's not true. It's just one of those things where certain things in lore I don't think will ever come up later on. Dragon Ball Superfan said, "My day has been good, and we should talk. The new Child's Play movie that's coming out, and how is your day going, and how's life? My day's going well. Life's been pretty well. I'm glad you've been asking. Fuck, I feel like the words that I say just stream out, whether or not they actually have context to like the statement. For the new Child's Play movie, I saw that a new trailer's out. I want to do a reaction video to it because I actually am really into the Child's Play movies. I've seen the first one, the third one, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, and the sequel to the rebooted Chucky movie. I haven't seen the rebooted Chucky movie because I'm afraid it won't be as good as the sequel because that sequel was bomb as fuck. So now that there's a new Child's Play film out, I'm really hyped for it. Hopefully, since there's a new Child's Play movie out, they'll put Chucky into Mortal Kombat 11. Because that's what I want. I want him to be a playable character in MK11. I think that'd be dope. Ryan said the name Pangea, or Pangaea, is derived from ancient Greek pan, meaning entire or whole, and Gaia, meaning Mother Earth or land. The concept of the continents once formed a contiguous landmass was first proposed by Alfred Wegener, the originator of the scientific theory of continental drift, in his 1912 publication, The Origin of Continents. Dragon Ball Superfan said, I've seen all of the Chucky movies. Oh, ballin', which one is your favorite and why? Matt said, the campaign is called The War of the Grim Melody. Might not be the final name. I don't really have a real name for it. Matt, what do you think of the idea of it being called Shattered Morstel? That was just a random name that I threw out after reading like the first few sentences of the world building doc. He said inaccurate. He's like, that's just not what it is. Hold on, Matt. Why does version 2 start with the original version 1 document? That's so odd. Okay. So here we go. I guess because it's version 2, not part 2. Why not call it part 2? I mean, I don't know. It just, that seems weird. Ryan said the name Pangea occurs in the 1920 edition of the book mentioned earlier, but only once, when Wegener refers to the ancient supercontinent as the Pangaea of Carboniferous. And then Matt said because it's an update. I see what you mean by version 2. And then Dragon Ball Superfan 1010 said Chucky as a DLC character on Mortal Kombat 11. I think that would be dope to have Chucky as a DLC character. I keep proposing the idea of if Chucky's too short to be a playable character, having him ride on the shoulder of Michael Myers, and then Michael Myers can use Chucky as a projectile attack. I think that'd be really dope. Ryan then said Wegener used the Germanized form Pangea. Pangea, but the name entered German and English scientific literature in 1922 and 1926 respectively, and the Latinized form Pangaea, of the Greek Pangaea. Okay, so continuing on with Matt's campaign, which he's currently calling the Grim Melody. I'm calling it the Shattered Morstel for now. That's my headcanon name. Getting back into reading some of the lore that he's provided for me via email. The Crags of Roldulf lies to the south of the kingdom of Melodies, and its borders are many cliff faces overlooking the ocean. Due to this fact, the only way to ever enter the region is from the north. The land itself is rather rocky, preventing easy living on the surface. However, the dwarves and gnomes of Roldulf region have created marvelous cities carved out of the cliff faces. These cities can be viewed by passerbys traveling across the oceans. The major families of Roldulf region form a loose alliance to protect their home in case of invasion. The major homes are deep within the earth as opposed to the rest of the cities, which have the skylights created by how the city were carved out. This was done in the off chance that an invasion attempt comes from a direction other than the north. Jumping into the live chat real quick to see what people have been posting. Ryan, talking more about the history of Pangea, said, especially due to the symposium in the American Association of Petroleum Geologists in November of 1926. Rap King said, I'm back in Atlanta. Yo, Rap King, welcome to the stream. It's good to have you. I have 3 questions for you, Rap King. Question number 1, how's your day today? Question number 2, do you have any discussion topics that you'd like to talk about on today's stream? And question number 3, do you have any questions for your boy? Right now, I'm going over the world building materials provided by your boy Matt for the D&D campaign that he's working on that he calls the Grim Melody, and that I've been calling the Shattered Morstel. I'm reading over the notes that he sent me via email. Ryan in the live chat is going over the history of Pangea, specifically the name Pangea and why we call it that rather than calling it its original name Pangaea. And Dragon Ball Superfan is talking about the new Chucky movie, as well as the idea of having Chucky as a DLC character in Mortal Kombat 11. Let's see. Ryan said, so you have English, German, Latin, and Greek versions of the word. Panthalassa was the super ocean that surrounded the supercontinent Pangea. I honestly didn't know that there was a name for that. Rat King said, have you been to Atlanta? Yes, I've actually been to Atlanta multiple times. My mom once had a real estate company thing that she wanted to start where she would take old broken down houses, renovate them, and then sell them. We went to Atlanta and we helped clean up an old house to be resold. I've also been to Atlanta on multiple occasions, specifically to go to Dragon Con, which is a big nerd convention. I normally go to panels where people talk about like comic books, whether they're comic book writers or just fans who have interesting essay-style discussions with an audience. I really did go to Dragon Con. It's a big event that me and my dad attend every year. One fun fact about Dragon Con, I used to go and pretend to be the guy who pours the water at the table, and in some cases even pretending to be a bodyguard. This allowed me to sit next to a lot of famous people, including Jim Starlin, the creator of Thanos, and talk with them directly on a panel at the table. But yeah, that's what, those are all the experiences I've had in Atlanta. Mainly going there with my mom back when she had the real estate business, and going there with my dad for Dragon Con. Then Ryan said there are apparently even older supercontinents. You mean supercontinents before Pangea? Huh. What evidence do we have for the older supercontinents? Continuing back where we left off in the world building materials provided by your boy Matt. Olia occupies the region directly to the south of the kingdom of Grimoria, acting as a parallel to Crags of Roldulf, whereas the Roldulf region is craggy and hard to traverse. Olia is a kingdom of tropical beaches. As a result of this, the main population for this kingdom is composed of sea elves and a surprisingly intelligent branch of troglodytes, being on par with the average human and even the elves they live beside. Since the kingdom is a peninsula, fishing is a common source of food, although tropical fruits are commonplace as well. The kingdom of Olia extends somewhat under the waves as a result of the abilities of the sea elves and troglodytes. The sea elves and troglodytes each have their own royal families that must come to an agreement in order to pursue the policies of the kingdom. Sea elves are more reserved than their troglodyte friends, leading to more logical pursuits, whereas the strength of the troglodytes and their lack of foresight lends them to focus more upon the nature of territory of Olia. Due to this given Due to this give and take nature of the two races, the royal families have aimed to help the other race out in the areas that they are lacking, with personal troglodyte trainers sparring with elven royalty, while sea elves send teachers to ensure that the troglodytes are capable of making sound decisions. So I'm going to take a break on the lore for a moment. I actually really like the idea of the troglodytes and the sea elves and their whole dynamic. I feel like I understood that a lot more than what I understood from the first world building document, where all I really got from that is Grammarius is kind of harsh and Melodies is very political and they have fertile land. I feel like I learned a lot more about what they eat in Melodies and what they eat in Grammaria than how it actually is to be in those societies. Where I feel like with the sea elves and Olia, as well as the troglodytes, I get a very solid understanding of this left and right brain mentality between the more out there troglodytes and then the more reserved and logical sea elves, and how their interesting partially underwater society operates. And it definitely created more intrigue. If the campaign took place specifically in Olia, I think that would be really dope. Let me see where I left off in the live chat. Ryan said Rodinia, from the Russian rodit, meaning to beget or to give birth, or Rodinia, meaning motherland or birthplace, is a neoproterozoic supercontinent that was assembled 1.1 to zero point 0.9 billion years ago and broke up 750 to 633 million years ago. Interesting. I didn't know a lot about that. Rap King asked, have you been to Comic Con? I've actually never been to the official San Diego Comic Con. However, I did go to a Nashville Comic Con with my dad. That, fun fact, is where I was introduced to the game Injustice. At the time, the Injustice fighting game was brand new, and they were having a tournament to make it where whoever won the tournament was going to be given a PlayStation 3 and a copy of Injustice. I entered the tournament late, and it was an interesting tournament setup. Essentially, you played all day, and whoever got the most wins throughout the day got to go to the finals. And then in the finals, people competed until it got to the last two, and then whoever won in the last two won the game and the console. Because I entered late, I ended up getting 11 wins facing off against fighting game players from around who had all traveled to the Nashville Comic Con to compete. I got 11 wins, but I got there late in the day and started competing. In order to qualify, I think I needed 44 more wins. So I think you needed a minimum of 55 wins or something like that. I feel like if I learned about the game earlier and that they were having the tournament earlier, I might have had a chance to actually compete in the finals. Mainly due to the fact that I had gone to panels throughout the day, and then by the time I got to the Injustice tournament, it was nighttime. But that's the only fighting game that I've ever played it in a really big tournament, like a convention tournament, other than playing Dragon Ball Fighter Z at the local UAH tournament, ChargerCon, and playing in a Tekken 7 tournament on campus at the Charger Union. But I'd probably say that the Injustice tournament and the Dragon Ball Fighter Z tournaments are the biggest tournaments that I've ever been in. Scrolling through the live chat, Matt said, Oelia. Oelia? Oelia. Rather than Olia? Oelia just seems harder to say. Oelia. Oelia. Ryan said, Valentine and Moore's 1970 were probably the first to recognize a Precambrian supercontinent, which they named Pangaea. It was renamed Rodinia by McMiniman and McMiniman 1990. Why is it themselves and themselves? Is it a husband and wife thing, or a brother and sister? Excuse me. Ryan then said, who were the first to produce a reconstruction and propose a temporal framework for the supercontinent. Matt said, Jet, stop pronouncing Oelia wrong. Ryan said, there's an even older one. Columbia, also known as Nuna and Hudson Land, was one of Earth's ancient supercontinents. It was first proposed by Rogers and Santosh in 2002, and it is thought to have existed approximately 2,500 to 1,500 million years ago in the Paleoproterozoic era. Million? Didn't you say like billion earlier for like a previous supercontinent? Zhao et al. 2002 proposed that the assembly of the supercontinent Columbia 2002 proposed that the assembly of the supercontinent Columbia was completed by global scale collisional events during 2.1 to 1.8 GA. Matt said also, when you use half the time of the stream to read Ryan's giant Pangea post and not going over the lore, then Ryan posted a frog and Matt put dot dot dot. Then Ryan said 2,000 million is 2 billion. Oh, I see. Why not just say 2 billion then? It just seems odd to use a high number of a lower conversion. But anyways, without further ado, let me go back over this lore. So, the Forest of the Lost is a bizarre location that covers the northern part of the continent of Gronvel. This region takes up the most area of the continent and is widely unclaimed by the various kingdoms. However, the reason these lands are not claimed is not due to a lack of drive by the kingdoms, but rather a seemingly irreversible curse that caused those two to wander into and remain ensnared within the maze of trees forever. Although many know of the nature of this curse, some still attempt to explore the forest to this day, some out of a curiosity and desire to map out this mainly untapped land, and others to seek out legends of treasures that were lost within these woods. In the rare instance that someone manages to escape the sea of trees, they can barely remember what occurred during their time there, only recalling the sounds of fluttering winds and soft whispers. Huh. That actually is interesting. I'm currently looking back over it. Huh. So it's like a maze of trees that's cursed and it's really hard to escape like the maze of trees in the massive forest. I kind of like that. Um, that seems like it'll be an interesting place to possibly visit during the campaign. You could even do the dice roll thing that I did for the being trapped in your own mind thing in Jank Heroes, where because it's like a labyrinth thing that's supposed to keep you trapped forever, in order to somehow overcome the curse, you have to like succeed like a roll. And then Matt said, no, in all caps. Ryan said, because the lower conversion is more consistent when talking about things often in that range, even when they go above that range. Interesting. So normally you would refer to things in millions of years. So billions is such like a weird term for how it's normally spoken about that you would just default to millions because that's just normally what people would use. I still think that's odd. I don't know. I feel like that's something that could change over time, like whether or not people are okay with using billions. I think when it gets to that big of an amount of time, billion really helps sell the amount of time. Even though 2,000 million should as well, I feel like billion gives you that immediate recognition of how big it is. The Forsaken Lands are an odd location, and that is the home of goblins and kobolds. These two groups of creatures do not ally with each other, rather, are locked in a never ending war for territory. However, both sides are evenly matched due to how quickly goblins procreate as opposed to the skill and strength of kobolds. What makes the scenario odd is that even when a kingdom such as Grammaria or Melodies have tried seizing these lands to add to their kingdoms, it would be quickly overtaken by hordes of the two creatures. At most, the kingdoms could only establish small camps for a short while before being besieged. These kingdoms could never gain a real foothold in these lands, and thus determined to instead bolster their borders so that the creatures could never expand beyond the land they already have. And that just sets them up as being like additional encounters unless you were to ever go to the Forsaken Lands. How are they on like guest, like immigrants coming in? Are they like, no, no? Or is it fine for you to come in as long as you're not trying to like invade? Ryan said also, then you would need to use decimals in the billions due to the very specific amount of years. I see what you mean. I mean, is that a bad? I guess that is gross compared to saying 2,000 million, I suppose. Matt said they are monsters, so take that as you will. Okay, so we have about 13 minutes left. I've gone over both world building documents that Matt sent. So now I'm going to go over my character, Armakura, that I'm going to be playing in Matt's campaign. Ryan said, so the universe is 13,800 million years old. That does seem like a weird way to say how old the universe is. How old is the universe in billions? So my character Armakura is a level 8 monk. He's a dragonborn with the background of amnesiac assassin. He is of a chaotic neutral alignment, which normally dragonborns are either extreme, either being good or evil. But I'm taking some artistic liberties with this. And then Ryan said 13.8 billion years old. That makes sense. I should have known that. So anything that is thousands and millions and billions is that number point. I see. My character has 18 strength, 16 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 16 charisma. So my character isn't very smart or very wise, but is rather strong, dexterous, and charismatic. My character's personality traits, they're curious and socially minded. He cares about what is going on in the world and wants to be involved in shaping it. And then I'm going to have to zoom in a little bit on this PDF document because it's a little small on my bigger TV screen. Zooming in on the document, his ideals. He believes that everyone has the ability to shape society and that people shouldn't complain if they aren't willing to try to make a difference. Uh, Dad said, "Why are you in black and white?" This is actually the silver screen filter that you can do for live streams. I also have some relaxing medieval music playing in the background. It's to set the tone because we're having a D&D discussion. Also, Dad, I have 3 questions for you. How's your day today? Do you have any discussion topics you'd like to talk about on the stream? And do you have any questions for me? Right now I'm going over my D&D character that I'll be playing in a campaign that Matt is running called Grim Melodies, but what I'm calling for the purpose of this video, Shattered Morstel. I'm covering my character sheet, going over different elements of my character. Meanwhile, in the live chat, Ryan is going over Pangea, as well as talking about why the age of things in history are described in millions rather than in billions. Ryan said, less of black and white, more like black and gray. Then Dad said, "Have you done any of your important paperwork yet, Mr. Livestream?" I'm planning on working on a lot of that paperwork later today. Around 2 p.m., Aiden and I are going to go eat on campus, so I'm going to use more of my meal plan. I want to get back on using meal plan. I've been eating out a lot, and I want to take advantage of the meal plan to make sure that I don't leave it on the wayside. Um, Aiden has a class around 4:20. So me and Aiden are probably going to hang out. Then he's going to go to class, and then while he's in class, I'll have plenty of time to work on paperwork and get that out of the way. I'm also going to be studying for a test that I have tomorrow in my business strategy class. I'll also be applying for multiple positions in the DHS, and I received an email from Technicore, which isn't a government agency, but they're interested in possibly hiring me based off of an old resume. Um, don't know what I'd be able to do with Technicore, but I'll tell them that I'm in the scholarship and send them my resume anyways. Maybe they have additional connections. Dad said, "I am listening to your D&D discussion, but I will have to bail in a little bit for work purposes." Understood. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Going back into detail on my D&D character. His bonds. He has a strong spiritual bond to his weapon prosthetics and is very protective of them. He believes, going into his flaws, he believes that people victimize themselves and in many cases isn't willing to help those who don't try to help themselves. Quick summary of my character. My character is very curious and wants to shape the world through his own actions. And he believes that this is a philosophy that everyone should hold, that everyone should try their best to shape the world and to try and do their best in order to make the world a place that they want to live in. He looks down upon those who don't strive to shape the world, and he sees many people who feel like they're hurt by the world or can't control their place in it to be people who are not doing what they're supposed to. He blames them for their position in the world and says if you want to like live a better life, you should strive to do so. So that's a big thing of my character, and it's how my character is going to act and behave when looking at other people. He's going to see people who are in high places in the world being people who worked for those positions and people who shaped the world in such a way in order to attain those positions. And he will see people who are low in society as people who didn't try, people who didn't look at the world and decide that they wanted to make it into something that they wanted to live in. Let's see. Rap King said, "Did you hear about Vic Mignogna? Vic Mignogna. That name sounds familiar, but I did not. I actually don't know who that is. Is that an actor? Is that like a musical artist?" Matt said, "What are the short and long range Kinsei weapons and the extra Kinsei weapon that my character has?" So right now, I'm not sure what the extra Kinsei is. In my weapons, all I have listed are the shuriken hand. My character has prosthetic weapons. So for their left hand, they have a shuriken launcher that acts almost like a mini crossbow or a light crossbow. It shoots shurikens from his hand that deal 1d8 piercing damage. Then he has individual shurikens that he can throw. He has about 10 of them, and they do 1d4 slashing. The shuriken hand probably should do 1d8 slashing, not 1d8 piercing, now I think about it. The flail hand, he has a flail prosthetic hand. That does 1d8 bludgeoning damage, and it's a prosthetic hand that he can use in order to smack people in the jitters. He also has a breath weapon, which is just like his natural ability as a dragonborn, where he can shoot a 15-foot cone of cold for 3d6. He also has a martial arts die that adds to his combat ability. Monks are complicated. There's actually a lot of monk notes on my character sheet that talk about the different things that he can do. He's proficient in short swords, but I don't think he has a short sword. I think that's just something that he gained from his class, more or less. Let's see. Matt said Mignana, Vic Mignana, and then he said he is the voice of Broly and Crow, so Crow from Ruby. Then Rap King said the voice of Ed and Broly. Vic Mignana is the voice of Ed from Ed, Edd n Eddy. Matt said, "Jet, the shuriken launcher has to be the extra Kinsei, not the long range." Okay, so the shuriken hand is the extra Kinsei weapon, and then the flail hand is the original melee Kinsei weapon. Can I have a shuriken Kinsei? That sounds really weird. Because shurikens are like individual things. I'm not sure how that would work. How would you make a single shuriken Kinsei weapon operate, Matt? Do you think it would return to me almost like a boomerang? Or not? Let's see. And then Matt said, "As you couldn't have bonded with it until after you had it made." True. And then Ryan said, "Crow, I haven't watched Season 6 yet. I'm planning on probably not watching Season 6 of Full Metal Alchemist. I'm not too enthralled." Matt said Ed from Full Metal Alchemist, to which Rap King then said the same thing. My bad, I thought you were talking about Ed, Edd n Eddy. I couldn't really get into Full Metal Alchemist either. Matt said, "No, the long range would have to be like a bow. What if the first long range Kinsei was a boomerang? That way it could be like a long range weapon that I threw and it could come back to me." I think that would be interesting. And then Matt said, "But not a prosthetic, as it would be silly." So I wouldn't do a prosthetic boomerang. A prosthetic? Would you let me do a prosthetic boomerang hand? And I throw my hand off, and it flies and it comes back to me and reattaches to my arm? That'd be fucking dope. Like I strain my fingers out, right? And then I go yeet, and then my hand goes, and it like clicks back onto my like arm. I think that'd be dope. And then Matt said, "No, you wouldn't have bonded with it." Guess it can't be a prosthetic. Can I have a normal boomerang as my Kinsei weapon then? Ryan said, "Sounds like Vic Mignogna is facing sexual allegation harassment." I feel like you added allegation too many times. Sounds like Vic Mignogna is facing sexual harassment allegations. I've heard about this from Colin and Gerard. Colin and Gerard are in the camp that Vic Mignogna um, is like a good person and that whatever he did, he didn't mean to or whatever, like something like that. I don't really get involved in stuff like that, like paying too close attention to celebrity scandals. It really depends on what it is. I do watch content like Fainted on YouTube, who talks about like Twitch celebrity scandals and like shit like that. I think internet celebrities are somewhat interesting. I'm not too into like voice actors and people on television necessarily. Um, but yeah, could I have a boomerang Kinsei weapon? I think that would be cool. Also, how much time do we have left in the stream? We have 2 minutes. So quickly, I'm going to go over proficiencies. My character is proficient in speaking Common and Draconic. They're also proficient with simple weapons, short swords, painting, land vehicles, and gaming sets. My equipment includes a paintbrush, an explorer's pack, mercenary uniform, and monk's robes. So I have two different outfits. There's a whole bunch of monk shit that I'm not going to go over. It's just a lot. With allies and organizations, my character was once a part of an assassin's guild, but was excommunicated due to his rash actions at a young age, cutting off their own hand, believing that if they placed their Kensei weapon as a part of their own body, that it would allow them to gain a greater attachment to their Kensei weapon. Kensei weapons being special weapons that monks bond with that eventually give those weapons magical powers as a monk grows to become one with their weapon. It's supposed to be a spiritual practice practiced by his Assassin's Guild, but the monk takes it too far and it becomes like a physical part of his body. His only ally, really, that he doesn't remember because he has amnesia, is Proctor Smith, who is a prosthetic weaponsmith and political activist, who is the employer of my character, Armakura. I'm not sure if I mentioned this, but Armakura is Latin for arms and legs. I originally wanted my character to either have no legs or have no arms. But this is an interesting setup instead to have the prosthetic weapons at least. Um, so Proctor Smith is trying to gain some political power within the continent, and he has sent me to assassinate some important figures in order to give him that power. However, I've lost my memory due to magical alteration to my mind, and now I'm just wandering across the continent. I still am aware of like my ideals, and I still believe in the philosophy that I had before. I also remember my assassin's training and the fact that I was excommunicated from my assassin's guild, and the fact that I'm a mercenary, and bleh, and the fact that I am a mercenary. However, I don't remember what my current assignment is, and I don't remember a lot of facts about the world around me. So when it comes to like the culture, what continent I'm on, what's going on in like the politic sphere and how different classes of people are being treated, my character is entirely oblivious. However, my character does recognize things like symbols on uniforms that show whether or not people are mercenaries and places where mercenaries used to hang out. So my character understands their role in society, and they understand like their history and combat training and things of that nature, but they don't remember why they're on the continent they're on, and they don't remember what's going on in the world around them. Let's see. So then Matt said boomerangs aren't typical weapons with stats and aren't very precise. But if you can give me a good reason and stats that are reasonable, a good reason and stats that are reasonable. I guess I would have to look them up. Are boomerangs actually not listed as just simple weapons normally in D&D? Um, then Rap King said, "Could you make a manga?" Making a manga would actually be really interesting. Sadly, I'm not good at drawing at all. I do write books regularly and post them on Amazon. So the books that I post on Amazon are available. If you go to the fan poll results video that I just did, you'll be able to read in the description box below a link to my Amazon page. So if you want to check out any books that I've written, feel free to check those out. I actually wrote a book on a D&D character that I made called Swags on Fools that's available on Amazon right now. So if you're interested in seeing stories written by me based on D&D characters, there's already one out there. So feel free to check that out. It's available on Amazon.com, paperback and ebook. Matt said memory alteration. True. Matt doesn't like the term amnesia because it was caused by a magic spell that was cast upon me. So my memory has been altered. Ryan said from his Wikipedia page on February 5th, 2019, Rooster Teeth creators of the animated series RWBY severed their business relationship with Mignana. Interesting. Then Rap King said, how old is he? My D&D character is 13 years old. This is because of the fact that in D&D, Dragonborns mature at the age of 15. So I wanted my character to still be a little immature and childish. So he's 13 years old. He has white eyes, silver skin, and gold hair. He weighs 184 pounds and is 6'3". Dragonborns are just really heavy and really tall for their like age. Apparently, when they're like first born, they develop like really quickly to the point where they're like already like walking on like 2 feet and shit at like a super early age. And then Matt said, "Nope, boomerangs aren't weapons at all." Yikes. Could I have a boomerang that more or less just has the stats of a shuriken, but it comes back to you? I mean, I feel like that would be pretty dope. Then Ryan said multiple accounts allege that Mignana kissed, groped, and made flirtatious comments to fans without their consent, some of whom were underage. I'm sorry to hear that. Um, I've heard Gerard quote Mignana on saying that Mignana no longer is going to hug or directly interact with fans in that way. Well, not like necessarily in an inappropriate way, but just at all. Like Mignana now is like, whenever I do a public appearance, I'm not gonna like touch fans or anything to avoid any further allegation. Gerard and Colin are sympathetic to his cause. I have no real opinion. If anything, I'm trying to stay out of it because I don't know a lot about the situation at hand. If he did do those things, that's wrong of him to do so. So I understand if Rooster Teeth doesn't want to be associated with that, and if they're excommunicating him because they don't want him to kind of mess with their brand. Um, if he didn't do those things, then I'm sorry to hear that he's taking so much flack for something that he didn't do. Uh, and if it's somewhere in the middle where he's done some of the things that he's been like alleged to have done, but he didn't do all of them, then the things that he did do were wrong. But the things he's wrongly accused of, hopefully, good air of the truth will come out, and then he'll be able to overcome some of the hurdles that have been put in his reputation. But I don't know the if, ands, and buts about it. I don't know what's true. I don't know what's not true. I just don't have a foot in that race about Vic Mignogna. Then Matt said, here's the deal. Then Ryan said, Mignogna categorically denied any that. Fuck me. Mignogna categorically denied any accusations of sexual harassment. That's just a lot of big syllable words all together, but not in a rap. Rap King said, does he have a love interest? My character? My character has their memories altered, and they don't even remember the person who hired them. So I'm not sure if they have a love interest or not. Maybe Matt can incorporate that into the story. The idea that maybe I did have a love interest, but I don't remember them. I think that would be interesting. Matt said, how about this? 1d8 bludgeoning with a range of 30 to 120 feet, but you have to roll to get it back. Interesting. Unless you flat out throw it at like a wall, like where it wouldn't come back. I see. And an MX Boss Mode said rap. Well, it's time for me to end the stream, so maybe I'll do an outro rap to end the stream. Yo, thank you all for watching. Oh, fuck. To the medieval music, I really hate it. I immediately was like, I can't do the rap to this medieval music. So let me change it to a different filter. And then, give me some royalty-free lo-fi. And then Matt said, Jet, the boomerang. I accept those conditions, Matt, for the boomerang. Could you send me an email that has that? That way I can, like, remember that stuff. He says, we need to know if it's okay. It is definitely okay. I'm totally fine with that. Rap King said, bad and bougie. I'd rather freestyle rap an outro than rap bad and bougie. This is a rather slow beat. Let's see. I, yeah. Yo, thank you all for watching. Now it's time to log off. I had to clock in about an hour ago, but whether it rains or snows, you know that I'm gonna be on it 1 p.m. with those fan poll results. Then we start up the stream like hooked on phonics. Thank you all for watching once again, my friends. I hope that you smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Gotta make sure that you get on these live streams to see me rap like Mom Spaghetti. Hey, and ding ding ding, ring that notification bell to wish me well and to make sure that you know whenever these live streams come up. Hey, about to hit you with that one up, bing like a Mario. Oh, I gotta go. Thank you for joining in once again, my friend. Aye, aye, my friends. Hey, yo. Ryan said, Jet, watch Tiger and Bunny. Maybe we will together another time. Matt said we did. Yeah, we did a little bit when we went to HammockCon. That one rhyme, that one time at the VBC. Hey, MX Boss Mode said, let's go. Okay, bars, thank you. I'm glad that I can ride through these flows like I'm chilling in a brand new car whip. Hey, thank you for going on this trip with me. I'll see you later, hey, after midnight. Make sure that you hit up that stream. Alright, we're gonna be doing that live stream vlog. Hey, hey, maybe Winslow will also feature again today. Hey, we'll have to see. Oh, speaking of which, I have to go eat.